Oh, Miss Steele here. So this week we've been talking about abstract art and non-objective art. So art that just focuses on line and color and shape and kind of how they interact together. So we're going to be making our own Alma Thomas inspired sun designs. So for this project you want a piece of paper, a pencil, and an eraser, definitely our art tool basics. You want something to color in with. I have markers for today. You want glue, scissors, and then you want some colored paper. So I just have a few extra pieces of colored paper. If you don't have colored paper, you could always use white paper and color it. Or you can just use your markers or what you're using on here. You'll see in just a second. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way and we're going to get started. And our first step is drawing a sun or big circle in the middle of our paper. You could even do it to the side if you want. And coloring it in yellow. So if you struggle drawing a circle, you can always try to find something that's a circle to trace. Something like, say, a cup or a small bowl could work. If you want to draw your own circle like I did, you can do that too. You can just try your hardest to get it as round as possible. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. I'm not perfect, and your art definitely doesn't have to be perfect. But you can just try your hardest. And you can see I made this about a little bit bigger than my fist. So I'm going to color this in yellow. And then for the rest of our paper, we're going to be using colored paper. And I'm using two different yellows just because I kind of wanted to spice it up using two different yellows. Again, you don't have to use markers like I'm using. If you have crowns or colored pencils, those will work just fine too. You just want to get your circle colored in a really bright yellow. If you want as well, you can go back and erase any pencil lines so they don't show up as much. I'm going to do that real quick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use our colored paper to go all the way around our circle, kind of radiating out. Now, I didn't do mine perfectly in the center. I kind of did mine off to the side a little bit. So I'm knocking off the rest of that eraser shavings, and I'm going over this just one more time. And I think I'm going to consider this done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our colored paper, and what we want to do is we want to cut these into strips. And then we're going to tear these up for our next part. So here's my first strip. Here's my second. And I'm going to set those aside. And then what you want to do with these is you want to start ripping them, and you want them to be about half the size of your finger. Or if you have small fingers, they can be about the size of your finger. You just don't want them really long like this. So I'm going to rip up a pile of my green like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my sun, and I'm going to add these right next to each other, going around my sun. I got to clean off my glue real quick. Sometimes you got to pick off the top to get off the dried glue, and then it works a lot better. So I'm just adding some dots around here so I have it ready. You can rip up all yours at once if you want, but I like to kind of work as I go just because it helps me not lose any. And then you're going to start using these to go around your sun. You want to put them kind of close together, but they don't have to completely touch. You know, you can have a little bit of paper showing through. And then you're just going to keep repeating this same process using whatever colors you have. So I'm starting with green. I also found some orange paper, some blue paper, and so that's what I'm going to be using. So again, I'm just going around here, and if I run out like I just did, I can go back and I can tear some more. So I know I need about 4 or 5 pieces. Again, you could pre-tear yours and put them into piles. But I like to kind of tear as I go just because it gets a little messy if I have a bunch of piles. So there's my first. And now I'm going to go to my orange. And again, this is a big piece of orange paper and I want strips. So I'm just going to cut straight lines going down. And then I'm gonna rip them up like I did for my green and keep going around my sun like that. So I'm gonna rip them like that. And then I'm gonna keep going around my sun. Ooh, that flew over the other way. And then I'm going to do the same thing using whatever colors I have. And like I said, I like to put down my dots first, but you can add your dots as you go. I just think it makes it quicker to start adding them around. It is going to be a little gluey, a little messy, so you're going to want to find a safe place for it to dry so it doesn't get you messy or anything else messy. So I'm going to keep going with my orange, and then I'm going to move on to my next color. And if it gets to an area where it won't fit anymore, that's okay. I'll just put them on the side so it doesn't have to like squeeze it all in. If it's like over here, what you would do is you would start just wherever it's an open spot like that. And like I said, I am using some green and some blue and some orange, and I have a lighter green just because that's what I found. If you have different colors, you can use your different colors. But again, I'm just taking my ripped up paper. And if you didn't have paper like this, what you could do is you could always use just like a marker or a crown and color in little squares going around. So I'm going to keep going and adding around. Like I told you earlier, if you get to a point where you can't fit it in, that's okay. You can just put it to the side because we don't want them hanging off too much. So I'm just going to keep going around with all of my different colors, and then we'll take a look at this once it is finished. All right, so I finished adding in the rows of the different colors, and you can see that I would go around, and then this green, I kind of had to start going off the paper, but I still continued on that kind of curved look around like the sun. You can see like with, I got in my green and my orange and then this lighter green, I had to kind of go off the paper, but I kept going with my pattern using my little tore up pieces of paper. And honestly, those few little pieces I had got the whole thing covered, and I had some extra left over. So you should hopefully not need too much colored paper because we're going to tear them and they're kind of spaced out. And this is it. I cannot wait to see how your projects come out, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Bye.